Hey everyone, Kevin Marks here from Fast Tracks, and today we're doing another episode of Upstairs in the Workshop. So what I'm working on now is doing some prep work for the NMRA X clinic tonight at 9 Eastern time. I'll be doing a track soldering clinic on just proper techniques. So tune in tonight on the NMRA page at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll kind of go over some things. So I'm up here in the workshop just getting things ready to go, and a lot of people ask me what tools I use, so I just want to do a quick little video tour of the Workbench so you can see what kind of tools that you'll need to build your own track. So I always love watching people's videos, and I always want to know what are these tools in the background, because if it's something that can help you do something better, quicker, easier, cleaner, I'm all about that. So I just want to kind of take a quick Workbench tour and show you everything that I use for building track, and literally all of these will work for other model building as well. So it's a great way to start, collecting the right tools that you need and, build up your assortment, and doesn't have to be expensive. So let's dive right in and let's show you some Workbench tools. So what I'm working on for NMRA X right now, and I got a new tripod here so I can get a little better angle. I've got my straight track fixture. I was kind of practicing last night soldering up some HO scale rail, which is new to me since I'm an O scale modeler, and I have a great appreciation for people who work in smaller scales. But what's different tonight is I'm going to do the video using a regular Weller iron that I've had for many, many years. And the previous videos I've used my resistance iron, but I know a lot of people don't have those. So I want to do a quick soldering demo tonight on how to use that properly. So one of the things I just got was this little Weller soldering tip cleaner, and I got that off Amazon, and that just has like little brass shavings in there, and that works absolutely fantastic for cleaning your soldering iron. And then you can order extra, solder balls or cleaning shavings, and that works great for keeping the iron clean. So other tools I have, I've got solder here, I've got some soldering wick in case I need to clean something up, little micro brushes for the flux, a wire brush to clean things off, 400 grit sandpaper. I've got my flush cutting wire nippers. Mine are a little bit heavier than what you see because cutting code 125 rail needs a little more heft. I've got some trifecta 3-point track gauges that we make. Those are extremely helpful as well. And I like having a lot of weight when I solder, and I can't say enough about having, and I'm doing this backwards, so bear with me. So I can't say enough about having 1, 2, 3 blocks, and you can order these off of Amazon or a McMaster car, but basically it's 1 inch this way, 2 inches this way, 3 inches this way, and this little guy weighs a couple pounds. So when you put a few of these together, if you're building buildings, you can now butt up a corner, and you can use that to make sure all your corners are perfect 90 degrees. For track work, I like to use them to hold things in place while I solder. And I gotta tell you, if you're gonna spend any money, these are the best things. They're about $40 a pair. That may seem like a lot, but I'll tell you, this is one of the most used items that I have in my arsenal here. So I've got some acid-based flux. We'll use that tonight as well. So in terms of what we're going to solder, that's a nice little overview of what we have. So let's move the camera back up again, and we'll take a look at some of the other cool stuff that's on the Workbench. So everyone needs a Dremel tool. So this is one of those Dremels where you don't need a wrench to change whatever attachment you want to put on it. You just pull these little clips down here, and that saves a lot of time. And then that is on a stand here that they sell. And then over, let me move the camera down a little bit. So there we go. So over on this side, I've got my resistance soldering unit. And then this little guy trying to get this in the camera here. This is one of those presses I got from Micromark that you can use for tapping or you can use for extremely fine drilling. So if you want to put grab irons on a freight car and you want to use a number 73 drill bit, doing that by hand is a little difficult. So you can pop one of those fine drill bits right in there, and it works out really well. So let me move the camera again. Thanks for sticking with me. So a couple other things that really are deemed essential. If you don't have an optimizer, made popular by Martin Jenkins down in Australia, so an optimizer is absolutely key. The other thing I picked up in the antique store is a magnifying lamp, and this one has fluorescent lights underneath. This thing's probably 50 or 60 years old, but OttLight makes some newer versions of a magnifying lamp that you can get. But if you're soldering, I cannot highly recommend these enough, because you want to be able to see the metal change color and you want to see the metal flow as well. Another thing too is your lighting, where these are just cheap desk lamps, but the lights inside are LED lights around 4000K, which is a nice balanced light. You don't want it so bright. You don't want it, too much on the warm side. So that's an important thing you need to consider as well. And then down here, I just have a couple of these machinist squares. Again, make sure everything's nice and square. I got these at Menards for a couple bucks. That's not too bad. Couple key items over on the end here. This is a little desktop fan. Got that at Target, and that's key for soldering to get those fumes away from you. And then you gotta have a fire extinguisher. You can get those literally anywhere. You can get a pack for like 20 bucks, and make sure one is handy, because when you're soldering, that thing is hot. And if you have kids or pets, you don't want any of those getting caught up in the cord. That could pull the iron down on the floor, and you're going to have a really bad day. So one of the other neat things that I have right here, this is a magnetic strip I got from Micromark, so I can keep all my needle files and just hold those in place wherever I need it, and along with all my other little hand tools that I have. And speaking of hand tools, I picked this up at a train show when we still used to have those. And let me hold my hand here, but you can see how this little pliers, where the ends are kind of angled down. I love this thing. I use it an awful lot. And what I like about it is there are no serrations inside here. So if I just need to squeeze something a little tighter before I solder it, I know that, I'm doing this backwards again, bear with me. So I know that it's not going to mark up what I'm doing. So I love these little guys, and these get used an awful lot. And then at Home Depot last week, I found these little tiny pieces, which little tiny pliers, which are great. So this one is a flat one, and again, there's no serrations in it, and I love that, just for squeezing like rail joiners onto rail. And then this one is round, so you can use this for bending wire, and that comes in handy. And then this is just a little wire cutters. Haven't used that one yet, but it came with the set. The other thing, I have safety glasses, vital when you're using the Dremel tool, especially if you're using these little cutoff wheels. Again, I'm doing this backwards, bear with me. So you gotta have some safety glasses and protect those eyes. Your eyes are worth far more than, the $9 or $10 that a good pair of safety glasses will cost you. So other neat little things that I like using painter's tape to hold things down while I'm cutting out track work. My personal preference, I like to cut everything first and tape it down to make sure it all fits before I solder it, and I'll get into more of that tonight. So I've got some of that. The other tools that I really like are hold on one sec, and there we go. Make sure we have the settings right. So just some metal straight edges. So I've got a little thicker one right here, Pick that up at Home Depot, and then I've got a thinner one here. These are essential for track building, especially when you want to make sure your points are in the right place. You can kind of put this next to the rail and then slide your point up next to it, and that way you're guaranteed to make sure your points are where they need to go. So those are other really nice essential tools. Then I've got an assortment of little jeweler's screwdrivers. You can get these in a pack, and those work out well. The other tool that I probably use the most in track building is a metal scribe. So I've got this one right here, and that works extremely well for going in and marking lines so you know where to cut. And I actually have a couple of them. I found this one up in Minneapolis at Scale Hobby Supplies, and it's just, again, I'm doing this backwards, so let me get this in the camera, but this is a very, very sharp point, so if I actually want to drill something, I'll use this to push down into the material so I know exactly where to drill. And what's kind of cool about this as well is you can take this piece out, and you can put a drill bit in here, and then you can put this in a chuck in your drill press, or something like what I explained earlier right here. And that works extremely well for holding small little bits. But get yourself a really good scribe. I use this probably as much as the 1, 2, 3 blocks, and that is money well spent. Other things that I got this week, so I'm pretty excited about this little guy. So here's a wire stripper, and I got this from the website McMaster Car. And if you've never been there, oh my God, they have everything you could possibly want in terms of tools. And it's a wire stripper that goes down 10 to 20 AWG. So when you're soldering decoders and those wires are super tiny, you need to strip those. And this is an adjustable one, so you can adjust it extremely small. And when I just took it out and played with it last night, you could literally strip a wire down to like the size of a human hair. So it works out really well. And then the other thing that I picked up was a digital protractor. So there we go, get it in the frame. So this is pretty exciting, where now I don't have to guess anymore. Where in the old days, I was using, one of these, and it works great on larger angles if you need to figure out a frog point. But it didn't work so great on some of the smaller stuff, or actually the more wider angles. So that protractor will tell me exactly what angle I need, and then I can divide that in half to cut half of the frog point. So that was a good purchase, and I'll probably do a video on this one a little bit later. Other neat tool, here's the rail roller that we sell. And if you do any kind of track lane, this, especially in larger scales where it's harder to bend the rail without kinking it, this is an extremely useful tool. And it not only bends rail, but it can also straighten out rail too. So that works great. Other item here, these are just basic shop towels that I buy at Home Depot. And what I use these in soldering is if you're doing flex track, and I was talking to Lionel Strang last night, and we're recording an episode of a Modeler's Life podcast, and he was asking me how do you keep ties on flex track from melting? And what you can do is just use these cheap shop towels or an old washcloth, and you can just dip it in cold water, wring it out. You don't want water running everywhere. And then you can place this next to what you're soldering, and that'll act as a heat sink, and it works out extremely well. So speaking of the podcast, if you don't listen to A Modeler's Life, I can't recommend it enough. We have a lot of fun. And I'm mainly on the Patreon side, so you get one episode a week that's free, and if you want more content, you can sign up for $5 a month and get another episode, and that's where we have an awful lot of fun. So I would encourage people to look at the Patreon side and spend that extra $5 a month to get additional content. We have a whole lot of fun. So a couple other video projects that I have coming up in the works that you kind of see behind me right here. So The soldering demo that I'm doing, I'll solder up some straight track tonight just to show proper soldering techniques, and I started working on this yesterday. But these are actually going to be used for the upcoming demos where I just happen to have, there is the HL Scale Code 83 quad crossing for the new Diamond Line crossings that we have out, and this is the kit that you get. Looks like this, and then the castings are right in there. So I'm going to do a build video on putting one of these together, and then I also have one of the single ones, single 90-degree crossing. So I'll build one of those as well. But the question we get the most is, hey, that's great that you guys have crossings, but how do you wire them up? So I just happen to have, here's a Tam Valley frog juicer. This is a hex frog juicer that we're going to use for the quad crossing. And then here's a dual frog juicer that we'll use for the single crossing. So once those videos are done, I'll put it all together and we'll actually get some track down, and I'll show you how to wire up those crossings using the frog juicers. And back here for that, I'm an O-scaler and I needed something to test it with, so I ran out and picked up a Scale Trains C&W engine with sound, so that way we have something to test the crossings with. So those are upcoming videos as well. So again, tune in tonight on the NMRA Facebook page. They're doing clinics, I want to say starting around 2 o'clock Eastern time, and they're going until I think 10 or 11 tonight. So you have a whole day of train clinics that you can watch. And I think my buddy Tom Gazer is up first talking about rip tracks. So that will be extremely interesting as he is a railroader in real life. So there's a quick little overview of the Workbench and some neat tools that you need to have. And I'll get into that a little bit more tonight, and I'll explain kind of the different levels of track building where, you know, once you start doing this, we just want people to build track, and we have the tools that you can use to build track, whether you want to do it freehand or use a paper template, or, you know, move up and get, you know, an actual aluminum template. So I'll kind of cover all of those tonight. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tonight on the track soldering clinic on the NMRA page for NMRA X. All right, we covered it. Have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.